Kwadwo Poku is the Executive Director for the Institute of Energy Policy and Research. As we can't seem to be able to get hold of Kwadwo Poku, let's see if we can get hold of Kwadwo Poku and find out a little bit more about the oil situation in this country. And join him on the line.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you, Mr. Poku, and thank you for joining us on the Asasa Breakfast Show.
Thank you. Your line is a bit faint. I can hardly hear you.
Okay, so I'll try to speak up more clearly so that you can hear me, but we can hear you perfectly, sir. So,
well, I understand it very well, just that you're a bit far away.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll try to come quite near to the mic and talk to you so that you can hear me now. We wanted to ask you about this decrease on an increase, as you were describing it earlier on, that occurred yesterday. What is the main trigger for the decision to climb down by nearly half of the previously agreed increase on the price per litre, previously agreed increase of 17 pesos, now reduced to 9. What was the main impetus? The public uproar, or was it always going to be an affordable decrease?
Well, I wouldn't call it previously agreed. What was previously agreed by the whole country and everybody assented to it is the 30 pesos which was passed in Parliament. What happened from the 1st of May till yesterday was in threefold. You have a situation where the government had gone to Parliament to ask for extra taxes or levy to help with the country's development, which was passed by Parliament. So that, you can say, yes, it's been agreed. That was 30 pesos on the liquor. The two levies coming together will give you 30 pesos. So we all thought at 1st of May, there's going to be a 30 pesos increase of liquor, which nobody has a problem with. If you had any reservations, Parliament has passed it, so there's nothing we can do about it. But then what we saw was that there was a 62 pesos increase, and it gave the narration that government had increased prices by 62 pesos, which for us, we found out that it wasn't true. What had happened was that aside the 32 pesos increased by Parliament, which is the taxes, there was 17 pesos introduced by MPA. Now, MPA has a mandate to review what you call margins on fuel plants. Now, there are various margins in the price build-up. Some of them are the primary distribution margin, the UPPF, the BOST margin, and there's something called the fuel market margin. These margins have been reviewed upwards, and for us, it was not right.
Well, the reports note that the increase in the primary distribution margin, the PDM, went up by 3 pesos from, I believe, the previous 3.
Let me give you a background. I'll get to that in a bit. Just let me finish. So then we thought, no, that 15 pesos shouldn't be. Then the third leg of the increase was the BDCs increasing fuel by another 15
Sorry,
pesos.
can you spell out your terms? The what? The bulk distribution companies.
The BDCs, yes, bulk distribution companies,
right,
have also increased prices by 15 pesos. So all that culminated into the 62 pesos that came to the pump. So COPEC approached the ministry, and the minister decided to hold a meeting yesterday.
COPEC being the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, yes.
Yes, COPEC. They, through Duncan, the executive director, approached the ministry that, look, it's too much for consumers, so something should be done about it. So the minister held a consultative meeting yesterday, which was attended by ourselves, the Institute for Energy Policy and Research. COPEC was there. And then the Association of Oil Marketers were there, some BDCs were there, BOST was there, and then MPA was there. And it's at that meeting that we deliberated that if MPA could rescind the decisions to those review so that 17 pesos can come off the increases. because the 15% was increased by the BDC. There's nothing that government can do about it because it's a deregulated market. And then the 30% is also being passed by Parliament. But the 17%, that one was done by MPA and it's not backed by Parliament or parliamentary approval. So that one can be discussed and reduced or could be removed. It is through that discussion that we're able to come to consensus for 8% to be removed from the petrol prices.
So I believe we've also got on the line Kwadwo Adjumandua, the chairman of Group of Oil Marketing Companies. Mr. Adjumandua, are you on the line to us? Hello, Mr. Adjumandua, are you on the line to us? I believe we're still having trouble putting him through. But if I can ask you, Mr. Poku, what you seem to describe here from, if you like, a non-expert's point of view is a bit of a free-for-all on the price of petrol at the pump to the consumer. You say the if you like, the 30 peso increment, the increment of the 10 pesos per litre, the so-called baller tax, the sanitation and pollution levy, and the Energy Sector Levy Act adjustment of 20 pesos, so 30 pesos in all, as voted for in Parliament, is by common consent. Some people may argue with that and how far they were involved. It was an announcement in the budget. It got passed by MPs. I don't believe it was a matter of public debate. And then you describe the additional 15 peso increment per litre on the part of oil marketing companies. Again, as you say...
No, not the oil marketing companies. That price window, the review is done by the bulk distribution companies. That is only passed on to the oil marketing companies.
Right. But
so if the price increase in the world market is the bulk distribution companies who increases the prices, and that price increase is passed on to the oil marketing companies.
Right. Well, one could argue how commensurate this is with the intervening increase in world oil prices, but it's an increase introduced through the oil marketing companies then. Again, not a matter of any public debate, simply introduced and imposed on the consumer. And then, as you say, the National Petroleum Authority and its own increment of 17 pesos, which, because it is a state agency, the Minister of Energy, Matthew Poku Prempeh, used his offices to begin to regulate. Are you describing to us a situation where, in effect, we have an oil market where, from the consumer's point of view, we're entirely at the mercy of forces over which we have no control and in which we have no say?
Well, it's a deregulated market, and that is the bit where I wanted to clarify. You have to put the blame where it lies. The fact that an oil marketing company is the one that sells you the fuel, they are not the one that imposes that increase in the windows. It is passed on from the BDC to the OMC. So that is a clarification that needs to be made. They were at the meeting also pleading for the reductions of prices, because they feel that the more prices are high, it creates smuggling by what they call third parties and other people not paying the taxes because prices are high. So the oil marketing companies were at the meeting yesterday.
You're saying the OMCs rather than the bulk distribution companies were at the meeting complaining actually that they didn't think that the price increase to that extent was in their interests. What was the opinion voiced by the bulk distribution companies?
Well, the bulk distribution companies were not represented at the meeting. The meeting was attended by the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. Some of them are also bulk distribution companies, so they could not speak for the bulk distribution company, which is the Senior Husi outfit. They were not represented at the meeting.
No, but they speak with two hats on, as you say, so surely they're representing both points of view.
Well, they did not speak for the bulk distribution company at the meeting. But back to your question that you asked. The issue of Ghanaians being at the mercy of external forces is that we thought deregulation of the downstream market will come to help the average Ghanaian because there will be competition, and with competition, prices will come down. What we've come to realize in the last 5 years since deregulation was introduced, or 6 years, it has not helped Ghanaians. people are unilaterally increasing prices and everybody's following suit. There isn't any competition in the sector. And some of us has also pleaded with the ministry for us to relook at the deregulation, because those are things that the average Ghanaian is not benefiting from. So the minister has promised us that he is committed to looking at deregulation.
Right. So, as suggested, you're describing a situation where the consumer at the moment is at the mercy. You describe it as stemming largely from the bulk distribution companies rather than the oil marketing companies, but nonetheless at the mercy of forces in which they have very little say. One would say, do we want to get back to a situation where our oil markets are so regulated, perhaps by virtue of being controlled by the state, that you end up with a regime as artificial as the one that obtains in Nigeria, where you have, and governments will always answer to political pressures. So you have an oil sector, an oil marketing sector, so ludicrously subsidized by the state that the economics of it make no sense at all.
Well, you see, it's amazing how whenever this thing comes up, everybody thinks it's an either-or approach.
Well, I'm putting the proposition to you.
We want deregulation looked at well and made to work for the Ghanaian. It doesn't mean that alternative to deregulation is government coming back to subsidize. No. You can have in other parts of the world, like the UK, the US, you have a very efficient deregulated system where government doesn't play any role in terms of deregulation. All some of us are saying is that the laws and the regulation in place for deregulation is not working. So it needs to be revisited. Nobody wants to go back to the era of government subsidies and government controlling the market. No. What we are saying is that when we say let's look at deregulation again, or deregulation is not working and something needs to be done, nobody wants to go back to the government-controlled market.
When you say nobody does, that's presuming that, for example, the government might not want to return to this system. It might actually be in its interest to do so.
I don't think the government has any appetite in being involved in the petroleum market.
Is that the current government, or is it governments in general?
Say that again?
Is that the current government, or is that governments in general in Ghana?
No, government is government. I mean, I don't think there are current or present governments. I mean, I don't see how people try to differentiate previous present government. Government is government. It's continuous. So no government, be it past or present, is interested in going back to regulate the petroleum market. It brings no benefit to government. So it's something that has been agreed that the situation should be left to the private and the players to basically play in that field like it's done in the US and other parts of the world. What I'm saying is that what we had in 2015 and was imposed on Ghanaians for the past 6 years, we've come to realize that the system we as Ghanaians have, call it deregulation, doesn't work. A good sword should cut both ways. Whenever there is increases in the world market, the BDCs are quick to increase prices. Even if it's 2%, they will increase it in the Ghana market. During the pandemic, when we had 76% reduction in world market prices, Ghanaians only got up to 20%, and they pocketed the rest of the margin. So for me, that is deregulation. That is somebody just basically telling me how they want me to spend my money. So those are some of the things I need to look at, so that there's a mechanism, the sensitivity for increase would have the same sensitivity for decrease of prices. Those are some of the things that need to be looked at so that Ghanaians will benefit.
Are there actors who are not at present involved in the determination of the pricing mechanism, or indeed the actual increments from one pricing round to the next, who you feel should be at the table? You mentioned the bulk distribution companies not being represented, and that not seeming to be anything that involves excluding them to their disfavor. They can carry on raising prices as they wish, pretty much, under the present regime. You are present at the table as the Institutes of Energy Policies and Research, and as you said, so is the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. That's as far as, if you like, consumer interest is represented in these discussions. Who else should be involved?
Well, it should be a much wider deliberation The meeting yesterday, like I said, was called by OPEC and we attended. But in terms of the deliberation on how the system should work going forward, the rethink of deregulation should be a much wider consultation. In Ghana, I think the the energy sector has the most civil society organizations. I mean, I don't think any sector has that many civil society organizations. And the proper consultation between ISODEC, Imani, EXEC, and all these institutions, IES, Energy for Energy Security, if we are to bring all these organizations together to relook at that policy, I think the input from various civil society organizations would help shape a better deregulation.
What involvement would you call for? I mean, I'm sure some of these think tanks have, are able to call on a certain level of expertise. But what involvement should technocrats specifically have? And perhaps
repeat that again.
What involvement would you like to see technocrats divorced from think tank organizations have? And what involvement would you like to see from the banks?
Well, look, anytime there's supposed to be a policy, you're supposed to do a wider consultation. And without that wider consultation, when the technocrats and the civil servants and basically make those decisions, you realize that it comes in and you have various society punching holes in some of these things. Rightfully so, because in the account balance, there's something like this, we all have a way and an angle of looking at things. You could read through a document or you could draft a document 10 times. You give it to me, I'll be able to point out a few things in that document that you spend 10 times reading. So everybody has a way that they look at things. So if you bring a wider consultation to any policy, you end up with a much better policy than if it's done by the few. That's what I believe in.
Are things far too progressed with the management of the deregulated market that you think, Mr. Poku, that perhaps what the state should do is use its institutions, such as its own oil marketing and distribution system through GOIL, for example, to set an exemplar of how it wants fuel pricing to work in Ghana and leave, if you like, the private operators to do what they may?
Well, if I may say, GOIL has been a big disappointment. For me, I think they being an industry leader and also an industry that has some level of government stake could have done better in the way they price. GOIL seem to think that they are private because they have been listed and because government has some stake, it doesn't matter. Ghanaians don't have any stake, but we do. GOIL is heavily subsidized by Ghanaians. Most of their products is taken by these coupons which government buys, and then basically they make a huge chunk of revenue from the coupons that government takes. And that's my money, that's your money, that's government's money. Mm-hmm. When GOIL acts the way they do, for me, it's surprising because if you there's a window. There are some windows that GOIL will even bring out a price much higher than a lot of the private companies.
Well, I don't think, just to be clear, that GOIL did in this particular case.
Say that again?
I don't think that GOIL did in this particular case, the most recent instance.
Well, GOIL has not published their price. We've not seen their price. The only company that published their price on the forecourt is Shell. Most companies have not published their price as at yesterday or the day before.
I'm understanding from our business correspondent that they have. But they've done it this morning, but it is less than the price published by Total and Shell, or asked by Total and Shell.
It's less the price. What was it? What price did GOIL have as of Monday?
The price as of this morning.
As this morning, you would have done the reduction of the 8 pesos, which was agreed yesterday, because that directive make immediate effect. So if you're looking at GOIL price today, is it the price before the reduction or the price after the reduction?
The price this morning that is being quoted by a business correspondent is this morning after the reduction. But I believe on Monday.
What is it?
6 cedis, 5 pesos.
So add 8 pesos to that.
which
So that's
equates with
13%.
total. Okay, which equates with, but on Monday, I believe it
Well,
was lower than the price asked by Total and Shell.
would have been 18%, same as Shell.
Yes, but on Monday, when it was supposed to come into effect, it was still asking for less than Total and Shell.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that why is Gwell quoting the same price as Shell?
Well, now it's been agreed across the board. Perhaps they feel they can implement the same prices.
Say that again.
Now that it's been made official, perhaps they feel they can implement the same prices. But I take your point, sir, about why are they marketing their products on the same level as the non-state owned companies?
Because look, when you drive around the country, there are oil marketing companies that are always 6 pesos cheaper than Shell, Well, Puma. There are some companies whose marketing strategy is to always be 6 pesos, 4 pesos cheaper than the leading companies. So Gwell can do that. I don't see why Gwell should always feel that they need. Even Puma has always sometimes tried to be 2 pesos cheaper than Gwell. So for me, if government feels that Gwell cannot lead the way in the price war, then we should stop taking coupons from Gwell and then do the auction for all the other companies to also be able to give coupons to government. Because if Gwell, which is government is me and you, cannot serve a better leadership role by creating the price war that we need to bring prices down. Because the whole center case for deregulation is that there's supposed to be no cartelling and various companies should always price the same. Because no Go Energy buys their product separately, cheaper, and because they have bigger volumes, can compete for better pricing. I don't see why Go Energy is there. It's also a government subsidiary, a government state-owned enterprise. They cannot go into the market because of their size, negotiate better, and bring down a cheaper product. So if you are selling your product, and the excuse they'll give, and let me put it out there, their estimate, they'll tell you, is of the same octane level as Shell, as the Shell V-Power. Yes, we know it's true, but it doesn't mean
briefly, if you would,
still
Mr.
price.
Poku.
Yes. Again?
Sorry, briefly, if you would.
Yeah, no, that's what I just told you. I mean, they will tell you that their products are of much higher quality than the average products on the market. But it still doesn't give them the chance doesn't give them the opportunity to overcharge Ghanaians for what they do.
They shouldn't have the opportunity to, no. Thank you very much. That's Mr. Poku of the Institute of Energy Policies and Research in STEPA. It seems nobody comes out of this smelling of roses, and the consumer is always left the poorer. Thank you very much for those insights into oil marketing and distribution here in Ghana. And now...